Hello YouTubers, it's Peter. I'm back with the second episode of the restoration of the Fantic 241. In this video we're going to go through how to break a bike down so that we can take it apart and have a look at those components, the best way to do that, little tips and trips on the way. It's quite an easy job. What we actually plan to do is take the wheels off. Anything that's a heavy tank, wheels, bits and pieces, bits and pieces, so we can lift it from here onto the bench and then work on the chassis. I'm going to probably start off with taking the caliper and the brake assembly off first, and then we'll have a look at the taking the wheel off, and I'll give you a few tips about the front shock absorbers, what I usually like to do those when we're going to pull those apart. We won't pull those apart today, but what we'll do is get them out of the frame and show you how from there. Back. First thing to do when you take one of these master cylinder calipers, just got to get the throttle out of the way. So just back that off. There's a couple of wee screws underneath there, and just turn that out of the road. There is on the inside under here the same size screw, machine screw usually. So we back that right off. So we spin that right off. Like yay. It's just a little clamp mechanism onto the handlebars, so we put that up there out of the road. There's a little bracket down here that holds it in place. We'll undo that. Put a long screw, this one. Oh, I don't had a nut on it. Okay, we can sort that out later. We'll leave that on there. Clip. Right. Then we start onto the caliper. Just take that off. It's got probably quite tight. There it is. And calipers are usually held on by 2 bolts, and these bolts, one is longer than the other, usually the top one, which goes into the base of the caliper body. Nowadays we have what they call monoblock calipers, as opposed to a 2-piece one, which this one is an older design. AJP, or now Brake Tech as they were called because they bought it. I'll show you when I pull this out. There's a couple of little washers on this one to hold it in place. So I'll just put my finger in behind it, pull it out. There they are, they dropped out. So pull that up, it's quite tight. There it is. Now if you see, they're split in 2 casings. New ones are monoblock, and you get them and you put new pistons in by taking this piece off and that piece, but that's a new design, not like this. So that's that part done. So we put that away somewhere. Right, what we're going to show you now is how to take the telescopic shock absorbers the correct way, I think, to take them out. The one thing that I like to do is there is a socket bolt under here. Now that socket bolt, if it's not released before, like take the pressure off it, it makes it awfully hard when you've got this on the bench to undo these. So what's holding everything together is the stay in 3 places. The triple clamps here and down here, holding it all in place, plus the axle across. So you put your socket in here, and you give it a good whack with a hammer, because they'll be tight. Someone's probably put Loctite on them or something like that, and you undo them. Okay, I pre-did these before. It only took a wee bang with a hammer on both sides. Now they're off. Now what you can do, seeing the pressure's off them, if they're tight, just tighten them back up so they don't loosen any oil out. So that's when you go to pull all this apart later on. They've already been released, their pressure off there. So what we'll do now is we'll undo this nut here. That wasn't very tight. So I can undo that. I've never had this bike apart yet, so I don't really know how everything's going to come apart. I always use a magnetic bowl to put my stuff in. Now I've got to find the right little socket for here, and it's probably a 10, and it proves me wrong, it's a 9. There you go. There you go. Back them off a few turns. They don't need to come right out. They just like, see the pressures on them. And on the other side. Nice to take those out. They look in good condition, so we'll reuse those. Now I don't know how this axle's going to come out. I don't know if it's threaded in there or not. So the other end of the bolt seems to have a Allen key in it. So we will find out what's going on there. We'll give it a smack for a start, but I don't think it. Right. Well, I've taken the 4 screws out that clamp the spindle or the axle in place. Taken the nut off. We've given it a couple of wee smacks here on the thread. I can feel the axle moving. Now I'll take a large punch and punch it through the bearings. When you feel it making that sort of hollow sound, you know you're getting somewhere. Just brace the wheel a bit more. There we are. Okay, the axle seems to be very dry in there. No one's ever greased it up, so we're in a position where we can take that right through. And look at that, dry as. No one's ever bothered to grease it. So pull it out, slide the wheel out, and that part's done. Now don't forget, don't lose the spacers, because they can roll under the bench and you have a few problems. There's one on this side, on the disc side, which is smaller, so just note that in your brain. And the other one is on the other spindle side. Oh, look at that, that's good. Put all that back on there so we don't lose everything. Right, now when I put a 4-pot caliper on the bike here, because it had a 2-pot one, this disc is in not very good condition. It's okay, it's contaminated a little bit. It's a solid disc. It'll be okay for what we require. It was braking perfectly okay before, but it looks a bit gummy, so we're going to take that off. I'm going to take it in and get it surface ground, just a light surface ground on both sides so it's tight. So we've just got to take these retaining pins off, which is just to flatten them down. Safety tabs for the, and we'll see how they put the nuts on, the bolts on, if they Loctite them or what. So we'll give that a bit of a, I'll give them a bit of a tap just to shock them, because they might have a little bit of Loctite on them. It might go. Let's have a look. I don't even know what size they are. Oh, they're that size now. Have a look here. Ah, look at that. We're in luck. I think we're in luck. Look at that. Look at that. So we'll take those out. Okay, take that off, right there. Let's have a look at this. That's good. So everything seems pretty good. I just noticed a couple of these things here. Let's have a look, before we take anything off, just have a look how it was put on. There's some telltale bits, so obviously this has worked, so this is okay. Looks like this is a raised part here. We turn it over, it's a depression. So obviously we don't want to go that way, because everything will be out on the caliper. So if we remember that, the raised portion outer. Okay, because when I take it to the surface grinder, he'll probably grind all that right off. So I'll make a note of that. Now let's have a look here. We have a little seal on here on a bearing. I'll put my finger in there and just feel. They feel pretty good. Actually, if we get the axle, a good way to check. Put it in there. Give it a good. Now that is probably only the movement in the axle on the wee bit of clearance. So push that in. No, that's good. If that was going all crazy, you'd have to change your bearings. So what I'll do in this case, I will probably take that seal off on both sides, this seal here. Probably get a wee pick in there and pack that with some grease, just to repack it. Some people don't like taking the seal off because it's a factory seal, but hey, they're only about $12 each, so you could replace them. You notice inside here there's a sleeve in there that supports the axle as it goes through. So it's the spacer between the bearings. so they don't push in or push out. So that this bearing will go up to a shoulder, and presumably the other one does too. But there's a wee spacer in there that can come out. So never ever forget that.